Hi, everybody, and welcome to the January Lymphedema Patient Roundtable hosted by Lymphopress. This is our first meeting of 2025, so happy belated New Year. I hope everyone's having a wonderful start to the new year. My name is Alexa Ercolano. I'm the Marketing and Communications Associate here at Lymphopress, as well as a primary lymphedema patient myself. And we are so pumped you're with us tonight, as always. So while we wait for everybody to tune in, I'm going to introduce our lovely panel of ladies. So we have Karen Ashforth, certified lymphedema therapist and fibrosis queen. We have Evie Dominguez, roller skating primary lymphedema patient. She joined us last month and we loved having her, so she's back again. And we have a special friend tonight, Hardeep Kaur. She is a primary lymphedema patient as well. She has upper extremity lymphedema, which she chronicles along with her daily life on her Instagram account. She has a knack for making lymphedema look really chic, but she doesn't shy away from sharing the realities of living with this condition amidst other chronic conditions as well. And we're so happy you're at our virtual table tonight, Hardeep. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So before we get started, I have some quick housekeeping as usual. Remember to pop your questions in the Q&A box so we don't miss them, and we'll do our best to address them throughout the evening. And at the end of the hour, Karen is going to close us out with a really empowering reflection. And of course, gentle reminder, we are not your doctor, but we are your pals. So we're going to speak from our own experience, and we're going to defer to Karen for any general medical discussion. But if you have any treatment questions, it's always best to talk to your doctor or your lymphedema therapist. So enough from me. We're going to jump right into it. Hardeep, we want to know, what is your lymphedema story? We so rarely have upper extremity peeps here at the table, and we'd love to kind of hear a little bit about your experience living with lymphedema, your perspective on it, and how do you make lymphedema look so stylish? Because I don't know if you all are on Instagram, but Hardeep has such a knack for pairing her compression with her outfits in a really beautiful, chic way. So I'm going to pass the mic to Hardeep now.
Oh, thank you, Alexa. You are so sweet. Okay, so I've had primary lymphedema in my arm for 37 years. I got diagnosed when I was 6 months old, so I was really lucky because I got diagnosed fairly quickly. I also have lymphedema in my intestines. Um, and the way that this happened was like my parents noticed some swelling in my hand and they took me to the family doctor. The family doctor then referred me to a hospital, and that's where I was able to get diagnosed. Living with lymphedema was really hard, especially as a kid. I didn't understand what it was, so I had a hard time verbalizing that to other kids when they would ask me like, "What happened to your arm?" I know there were kids who were like scared to touch my hand when I was younger. So growing up, it was really difficult. I had a really hard time. My confidence was really low. And then as I got older, probably in my late 20s, I started to kind of accept it, I guess. But then I think what really helped me accept it was when I was 30 years old. I had Instagram already, but I didn't know anyone with lymphedema. So I searched the hashtag lymphedema just because I wanted to see what would pop up. And I started finding people who had lymphedema. And then ever since then, I became inspired by the community, and that's why I started styling my compression, incorporating it into outfits and kind of making it a part of my expression, like in fashion. Like I didn't want to hide it anymore. I didn't want to hide in big jackets and big coats, and I would always hide my arm as a kid. Like I would literally put my arm behind my back because I didn't want anyone to see it. So the fact that there's now so many colors that we get to choose from and so many patterns, it's just fun. It's fun to be able to use lymphedema as part of like a fashion accessory, I guess. But it is hard to live with lymphedema. I'm not trying to say that it's easy, but the part that I enjoy is the fashion aspect of it, and that's kind of my take on it. I'm sorry, I forgot what else you asked me to talk about.
No, that is okay. Anything and everything that you feel moved to speak about, because like I said, we've never or very rarely have had people with upper extremity lymphedema on the panel. So it's just really exciting to have that representation because we definitely have people in the audience watching or watching the replays who have upper extremity too. So it's just inspiring to hear from someone else living with it. And I'm curious because having lower extremity, and Evie, I'm sure you can relate to this too. It's a little bit easier for us to hide our compression or our legs back in the day when we weren't as confident or comfortable being out about it. But with upper extremity, I mean, that's a little bit more visible. Like, what are some ways that you have dealt with? I always call it lymphsplaining, like explaining your lymphedema to people if they ask what's wrong with your arm? Did you break it? Or all those questions. How do you kind of deal with those before you
Um,
became more confident and now with your compression and everything out and colorful?
Yeah, so back in the day, I mean, I've been getting this question since ever since I can remember. What happened to your arm is one of the questions that get asked most. And I would lie and I would say I broke it because people assume I broke it, and that seemed like the easy way out. Because, like, I understand raising awareness, but sometimes you don't want to talk about it, especially when you haven't accepted it yourself. So back then, I just went with it and I was like, yep, I broke it. And they'd be like, how? And I would come up with these elaborate stories. And I would just, yeah, just have fun with it, I guess. But ever since I started being an advocate for it on my Instagram page and just raising awareness about it and talking about it, I tell people that my lymphatic system is underdeveloped, especially around my right arm. And uh, there's fluid buildup that happens, and I have swelling, and that's what causes the swelling. And I have to manage the swelling every day. And that's kind of like what I usually tell them. I don't get into too much detail because people don't really, I don't know if people understand it, like, and I don't know if it's necessary sometimes, but that's the gist of what I say. I say my lymphatic system doesn't work properly and it's compromised, especially in my right arm.
And you do a lot of self-bandaging. How do you manage that with one arm? Because I can barely
Yeah.
do it on myself with my legs, so I'm always in awe when I see your pictures and videos of you wrapping.
I
Any
think
tips?
I've gotten really good at it. I
Yeah.
wasn't I wasn't good at it for a long time. I didn't do it for a long time, to be honest. I kind of went through that stage when I was younger where I didn't want to take care of my arm. I was in denial and I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to use my pump. I didn't want to bandage. I didn't want to use compression. But I'd say in the last 7 years, I've really been big on taking care of my arm, and the bandaging just keeps getting better and better, I think. I've just gotten used to it. I don't know. Like I feel like I can do it with my eyes closed now. So it's just one of those things. I think when you just keep doing it, it just gets easier. But one thing that is hard is when you're wearing bandages on your hand. I think Evie will be able to vouch for this. I think she remembers, but we went to Disney together and we were eating, and like the bandages got so dirty. Um, and I was wearing them because it was a long day out, so I wanted to compress my arm in bandages that day, but they were so dirty because they're white, and everything just got on them. So that's kind of a struggle of having lymphedema in the hand and arm, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't think of that, but you have to do so much hand washing throughout the day,
Yeah.
things like that too. That would be such a pain to have to.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
actually use like a spray on a hand sanitizer. And Evie
Oh,
actually gave me one because she knows that's how I clean my hands when I'm out and about. Because it's a little difficult when you're wearing bandages or even a compression. It's hard to like wash your hands properly. So that's one of the things I think that is a little tricky with arm lymphedema.
that's a great tip. And Olivia's in the chat. Olivia is one of our
Yeah,
fellow Limpy friends, and she says she carries wet wipes with her everywhere, so she gets it. So
yeah, that's a good idea too.
that's awesome. Now, I wanted to kind of switch topics real quick, and thank you so much, Hardeep, for sharing that. If anyone has any questions, especially for Hardeep, feel free to pop them in the Q&A box, and we will get to them. But obviously, right now there's a huge tragedy going on with the fires in California. And we were thinking about, first of all, our hearts are with all of our friends in the community that are out there, all of the loved ones. I hope everybody is safe. And we thought it would be a really pertinent time to kind of talk about managing lymphedema during natural disasters, with not just the fires, but also the recent flooding that we had from Hurricane Helene. Um, we have to take care of ourselves and our lymphedema, and there's so much risk with, lapsing in our treatment or our supplies getting damaged or we lose them. So I wanted to open up to the panel, Evie especially, because she lives in California, as did Karen, but we want to kind of hear what are some tips for keeping your lymphedema safe and also maybe preparing for natural disasters so that you can keep your swelling managed as you're keeping yourself and your loved ones safe and managed too. Anyone on the panel want to jump in on that?
Yeah, I could speak to it. Yeah, so I live in Northern California. And just a few years ago we did experience the Camp Fire, which was pretty big fire here in California. It was just a few miles down the road from us. It wasn't that far. One of the important things that I learned when it came to wildfires, because that was like my very first wildfire I've ever experienced. I've been through hurricanes and earthquakes, but wildfires were new to me. But the one really great, I guess, takeaway, I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as great, but was to remember the 6 Ps when it comes to a natural disaster. And that's to pack, or not pack, but people and pets. So get everyone together, all your pets. The second was papers. So, like important documents, phone numbers, collect those, pack those up. Prescriptions. So that's where like all of my lymphedema gear came into place. So, like my pump, my compression garments, my bandages, like all of that. Because if you think about it, they are pretty expensive. They are very valuable and sometimes really hard to replace. So that's up there. And if you have time, photos and personal items. The fifth one is your personal computer. So like my laptop, it's always with me. And plastics. So think like credit cards, your ATM cards, all that stuff. Um, I just always found those as something to always keep in the back of my head when it comes to a natural disaster. And I don't know, Karen, maybe you could add to that. What have you done in situations like that?
Yeah, you really nailed it in terms of being real concise about all the P's. I love it. That's awesome. And I think that in addition, if you find yourself displaced and you're in need of something, first off, reach out to your lymphedema therapist, presuming that your lymphedema therapist isn't involved in a disaster also. But if they're not, they might be able to help you because if you don't have the equipment that you need, or things happen too fast to be able to pack everything, your to-go bag, maybe something was in the laundry. Um, Oftentimes, lymphedema therapists have access to samples in their clinic. And so they can maybe help you get something, or at the very least, therapists have access to vendors who can reach out and help in disasters like this. So there's a lot of help out there. And if you have a relationship with a vendor, you can go to them directly also. But I think that it's very difficult. People feel very vulnerable when they are touched by disaster, and people just want to help. So being able to just say what you need and put it out there and get the support that you need is so important, even if it's just asking someone if they can fix you lunch, or something to give you some support.
I love that reminder of allowing yourself to ask for what you need because it is a very vulnerable time. I can't imagine experiencing something like that, and especially being displaced or losing your supplies, having so many unknowns. So always reach out to your people, to the community. And I love the tip about asking at clinics or your therapist or vendors if there's any extra supplies like that. That's such a good piece of advice to keep in mind. So thank you both for that. Blanche in the chat asked if anyone has used Fast and Go bandages and she finds them easiest to use. I know Catherine, who's usually on there, she's at band rehearsal tonight, but she's a big Fast and Go gal too. But anyone on the panel currently using?
I use them.
Oh, tell us about it.
All the time, every night. I love them.
I've rolled them for her.
Oh, yeah, she has.
I love that.
Yes.
Friends who roll together. Just lymphy things. That's so awesome. Great. Well, Evie, you have some exciting news to share. Would you want to tell the group a little bit about your latest role in the lymphedema community?
Yeah. I'm excited to announce that I am now the marketing associate for the National Lymphedema Network. I just started like 2 weeks ago, and I'm very excited to be part of a community that means so much to me. It gives a sense of belonging. Like it feels right. So.
So excited for you. And I
Yeah.
think the NLN is having a patient meetup in Connecticut later this year. I think I'll find the link and put it in the chat.
Hartford. Mhm.
Yeah, in Hartford. But
Yeah.
that's really exciting to have a patient event. Love when those happen. So
Yeah. I
oh.
unfortunately won't be able to attend that, but yeah, there's a lot of great events that will be happening this year. So if anyone is interested, feel free to reach out. I could help provide any information about the upcoming events this year. There's a lot of great information that the National Lymphedema Network provides, just from clinicians to resources. It's really, really great one-stop shop for all things lymphedema.
Love that.
Yeah.
Leela's in the chat and she says she's going to Hartford. Leela's
Yeah.
like the #1 supporter. Her lymphedema friend, Fenton from Trenton, who's usually in the audience. They're always at events and it's always so cool to see them. So I'm excited that they'll be in the Hartford event. Oh my goodness, we're already 17 minutes into the evening. I was wondering, you guys, I'm a sucker for New Year stuff, and we already talked last month about our goals and intentions for the new year, but I like to think about, like furthering that, setting the intention for the years, picking a word for the year. I was an English major. I'm a word nerd, so I would love to hear people in the chat and the people on the panel. What's your word for 2025 to kind of set the tone for the year? And it doesn't have to be lymphedema related, but it's always fun if it is. But I'd love to kind of hear what you're thinking your theme for the year is. Anyone want to start? Karen.
I'll start. So mine is lymphedema related, but it's a little broader than that. It's flow, because this 2024 was just an amazing year of so many changes, and it was difficult. It's still difficult. There's still a lot of changes. And I think that I need to just embrace how things are flowing and to be able to align with that, because I cannot tell you when we're going to be jumping in our van and traveling around the United States. We were hoping to be doing that a year ago, and here we are. We're still kind of not there yet. So I'm not even setting any firm plans. I'm making plans around the unknown, if that makes sense.
I think that's beautiful. I love that. And flow is such a good lymphedema adjacent word too. That's very fitting for you. I really like that a lot. Hardeep or Evie?
Okay, I will go. Mine is just to be present. I know that's 2 words, but I couldn't just say present. That might not make sense, but I just want to be present. I find that because I have other health issues as well, like I had a really rough December with migraines. I've been suffering from migraines since I was like 15. I sometimes get like anxious about migraines, like when am I going to get another one? So I'm trying just to live in the moment, be present, not worry about things that I don't have control over. And like even with lymphedema, I feel like that's relevant because some days there's like a flare up and my arm's just angry at me. I don't want to like worry all the time. I constantly worry about like, okay, am I gonna have like a bad day tomorrow? Like, did I do this wrong? Did I not take care of my arm properly? I just kind of want to like learn how to enjoy life despite having lymphedema and just yeah, trying my best to take care of it and live life. That's it.
Beautiful. Love that. Evie.
Hey, okay, so I really thought this through, and my word is momentum. And here's why. It's because I'm actively pursuing new opportunities and trying to build a fulfilling life into creating meaningful encouragement for the lymphedema community, such as joining the NLN. And even though I've had quite a number of setbacks last year in 2024. It's not going to stop me. I use those setbacks as feedback to push myself forward. And I'm consistently, at least trying, to balance my professional growth and my advocacy and my personal growth as seamlessly as I can. So momentum is my word.
That's a great one too.
Mhm.
Love that. And we're getting some great words in the chat. Diane's word for 2025 is kindness. Susan says maintenance. Ain says able, which is, I love that. That's a really
Mhm.
good action word. Francine says balance. Rosie has a couple words: joy, hope, resilience, and faith. Valerie is pivot, which is also a very useful skill. And I'm sorry, I can't help but think of the Friends scene with pivot whenever I see that word. But I love that. That's a great one. And I think for myself, I think confidence. I get so caught up in imposter syndrome and feeling like, I'm not able to do the things that I set out to do, and I get caught up in all of that. And I think just giving myself grace and having that confidence and know that I'm on my path for a reason and just keep walking forward on that. So that would be my word. Let's see. Well, oh, Lisa says self-care, which is always a good one too. Oh, Jessica, I like this too. Strong legs. Yes, that is great. Strong legs, strong arms as well. Um, what are y'all pumped for 2025? Again, lymphedema related or otherwise, but what's kind of driving you this year that you're really excited about? Jessica joined CrossFit, she just shared in the chat. That's awesome. That'll get you strong legs. That's great.
Okay, I will go first. I am pumped to see Dr. Chen at Cleveland Clinic in person. I've been wanting to do this for a really long time, like 4 or 5 years now. So I just hope that 2025 is the year that I get to see him and I get some answers about whether or not I can get surgery for my lymphedema.
That's awesome. I really hope that for you too.
Thank you.
Evie.
Yeah. So some of the things I'm pumped for this year, I signed up last year to be a camp counselor for Camp Watch Me this summer. I haven't heard back. It's been pretty quiet, but that's okay. I'm hoping I get selected because I would love to participate and meet this community of pediatric lymphies. Another thing I'm pumped for is I really want to participate in another fundraiser for the Lymphatic Education and Research Network. Last year, I participated in a fundraiser and I set a goal, but I missed it by $150. So I'm really, really hoping that I'll reach my goal this year. And I'm going to be a little bit more strategic with promoting the fundraiser on my end. And then new garments. new garments, new compression garments. As you know, Medi just released, I think, 2 new colors, and I'm really excited because I want to get those 2 new colors and maybe like style it into my wardrobe. New garments for me, it's like Christmas. It's like getting presents on Christmas Day. And then last but not least, and I know this sounds wild, but I really want to master the toe spin. And in case anybody in the chat doesn't know what that is, it's a special like move on roller skates. It's when you spin around and around and around on your tippy toes on roller skates. I've been trying to do this for the past 2 years and I can't seem to succeed at it, but this year I really want to conquer it. It's a little bit challenging for me because, as you all know, I have lymphedema on my right leg, so I carry more weight on my right leg, so my balance is a little off, but I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna master the toe spin.
Believe in you, and you're gonna have to show us some video when you do
Yeah,
master it.
yeah. If I can master it, if you see me rocking it out at the roller rink, don't be alarmed. It's your
That's
disco queen.
awesome. Blanche in the chat is turning 60 this year, so that is definitely something big to be pumped about.
Heck
Yay.
yeah, heck yeah.
Karen, what are you pumped about this year?
Oh my gosh. I'm pumped about possibility. I'm pumped about the world being wide open.
I love that.
Beautiful. That's really, really awesome. Um, we've got a question in the chat from Francis. And this is for Hardeep. The doctor that you're seeing, what does he specialize in?
He specializes in lymphedema surgery.
Yep.
Yes.
I'm actually getting surgery with him in May. It was supposed to happen in November, but other things happened and it got rescheduled. But hopefully, Hardeep, this will be our surgical year.
Yeah, I hope
That
so.
would be great.
I'm rooting for you too. I hope it goes well. And let me
Yeah.
know how it goes too, because I may want to consider it down the road too.
Woohoo. That's great. Wow. Oh, Blanche said, oh, another roller skater. Toe spin is possible. She did it when she was a kid. And she says, keep trying, Evie. Great. Well, if you have any pointers for Evie.
Yeah. I mean, if there's hope for her, then there's definitely hope for me too.
Yeah. We had a question in the Q&A box from Renat, or I'm so sorry if I mispronounced it. Renate. But she's always in the chat and she wanted to know if anyone has seen any leftover stock of the LNR Exo Anklet size small regular. She really wants to find them. And I had suggested to her checking the lymphedema Facebook groups too. But if anybody and anyone on the panel too, for just in general, when you're looking for supplies, because we know insurance is not always the best at covering what we need. And we're supposed to replace our garments every 6 months, but as the threadbare soles of my garments can testify to, that doesn't always happen. What are some ways to kind of get access to care when it's hard to find or get coverage for it? Like there's those swap groups, maybe talking to a therapist at your clinic. Does anybody else have any tips on how to get the goods? Nope. It's tough.
I know I just recently learned this with my new role, but the National Lymphedema Network has a program called the Garment Program, where, if I remember correctly, they can donate garments. I don't know what garments specifically, but if you'd want to share your contact information after this call, I can inquire about it and reach back out, follow up with what I find.
That's a really good tip. Yeah, I think I have heard of their garment fund. That is
Mhm.
that is a good tip. And I think some of the groups like Amy Rivera's Ninjas Fighting Lymphedema, I think they help
Yeah.
people get access to garments.
Mhm.
Dominique Rogers, The Process to Progress, I think he also sometimes is able to help people. Karen, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with the NLN Garment Program, and in order to access that, you need to work with a therapist who is a member of NLN. And so they need to be at the clinician or organization level. And it's an application process. and it really works. So, but the key is that you have to work through a therapist that has that affiliation.
I just dropped the link in the chat too for
Yay.
further.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. Quick draw with the links. Lisa had a question in the chat, and I'm actually interested about this too. Lisa asked, can anyone speak about how Pilates might help with lymphedema? I'm starting Pilates for cancer next week. I do Pure Barre, which is like a bar exercise class, which is similar to Pilates. So I'm interested in hearing like if there's anything specific, like benefits wise. It sounds like your class is specifically for cancer patients, which is wonderful. Karen, what can you
So I
tell us?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. And I think that Pilates is amazing for developing core strength. And one of the big parts of having a good core is having good breathing. And breathing is key for lymphatic circulation. The diaphragm is basically the heart of the lymphatic system. It's as close as we get to having a big, huge pump. So Pilates works with the breath and strengthening the core. And I say go for it. I think it's a wonderful modality. The caveat is just to be sure to work with someone who's really knowledgeable and experienced and has the right equipment for you. And you can't go wrong.
That's really wonderful. And any kind of physical activity, swimming is always like one of the best things you can do with lymphedema because it provides natural compression, which we talk about a lot on here, the graduated compression. But any kind of movement, because as Karen mentioned, we don't have a pump for our lymphatic system like the heart moves blood in the circulatory system. So our muscle movement is really what gets it going. And we actually, I'll drop the link in the chat. Karen just did a really wonderful blog post with us that's all about lymphedema, and it mentions how we can how we move that fluid with our skeletal muscular system. So I'll drop that in there. Rachel does yoga once a week, which is really lovely. That's so centering too.
And actually, I'm really glad, Alexa, that we're on this little topic of exercise because it's the new year, and a lot of people are making New Year's resolutions and are really turning towards self-care and healthy lifestyle activities. And exercise is critical for everyone, but especially for those who are living with lymphedema, because as Alexa just mentioned, the lymph system doesn't work very well unless we are moving our skeletal muscles. Um, because we don't have that central pump, our breathing and our muscle movement are essential because otherwise, when we're sleeping and when we're still, the lymph system uses little tiny valves to help move the fluid, but it doesn't work as well as having that big, nice movement with the muscles. So any kind of activity, a lot of people love rebounding, walking, Nordic poles, especially for my upper body lymphedema patients, because it really emphasizes the upper body movement and keeps the arms from being in a downward position. And I just noticed that Rosie mentioned that she started chair yoga, which is great. There's some great free videos out there on chair yoga from Shush Kreutzer, who does lymphedema seminars. She's been teaching yoga for decades. And what's great about yoga is that also incorporates breathing, which is particularly wonderful. So I would love to hear from those of you in the audience. What is your favorite form of lymphatic exercise? And what really gets it going for you? Because really anything works, but I think if you have a favorite, then it's easier to stay active. And maybe we could talk to the panelists about this. If anyone here has any, I mean, Evie, I know you're talking a lot about your skating, but do you want to talk more about that and how that actually helps your lymphedema?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was, what I kind of noticed about with my roller skating, is different types of textures that I'm roller skating on. For example, if I'm roller skating on, like the driveway that's kind of like asphalt faulty kind of. It creates like these vibration sensations in my leg. And I really do notice a difference in my lymphedema leg. It feels a little bit softer. It kind of acts as like a vibration plate. And other than that, I do a lot of hiking. I love hiking. I particularly love hiking on routes that require like incline climbing. And I definitely see some better proper circulation in my leg when I challenge myself with those kinds of hikes. My type of exercise though is mostly outside. I know it's kind of bad to say, but I don't like being stuck inside of a gym. I like exercising outside in fresh air. I kind of have the pandemic to blame for that. I used to be part of a gym, but then my gym membership got canceled and I couldn't go to the gym anymore and I had to find other ways of exercising. So yeah, yeah, that's my experience. How about you all?
Well, Sandy had pointed out in the chat that with Pilates, you can rebound horizontally, which is kind of a cool double benefit there. We love that. And Francis asked in the Q&A box, is swimming good as a form of exercise? And yes, it is, like we said, it's one of the best things. The depth of water provides a natural graduated compression, kind of like how our compression garments work. So it helps massage and move that fluid, and it's so gentle on your joints too, so it's a really safe way to kind of get moving. Do your water aerobics or just walking in the shallow end can be really nice, and it feels good too, especially when it gets hot out again.
So I'd
Nancy,
like to
sorry, go ahead.
While we're talking about swimming, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to
That's
just
okay.
jump in and say that not swimming so much as deep water exercise, because a lot of my patients find that swimming at the surface is helpful, but every depth of so every foot of water in depth gives you 22.5 millimeters of mercury of compression. And so if you're just swimming at the surface, you're getting kind of a very light compression. So if you like to swim, you can do some deep dives. I have some patients that like to snorkel, or there's something called snuba that is like a long snorkel. So you can go down real deep. And then just even doing classes where you're upright and treading water, or pool walking, or even pool running. And for people who have both upper and lower body lymphedema, the deeper you go, the better it is. So I just wanted to mention that because, swimming is good, but it's not giving you the full benefit of the gradient compression like Alexa's talking about.
Thank you so much for clarifying that, because that is a really good point. It makes sense. You need to have the deeper water for the more advanced, compression benefits. Nancy in the chat says that her favorite exercise is water aerobics. She says the movements I can perform in the water are not ones I can perform on land. I will not go in the water if I have open wounds, which is a very good point. And on that same topic, Rosie mentioned pool shoes. So wearing water shoes, especially if you're a lower extremity lymphedema person, is really important just to protect your tootsies from any sharp shells or rocks or things like that. Christine likes treading water. Yeah, the pool is the place to be. Now you're making me wish there's snow on the ground outside where I live right now, and I really wish it was pool weather. Have to find an indoor one. Hardeep, what do you do to keep moving?
I'm not good at exercising. I'm bad at being consistent with it, but I have been trying to get back into it. I do yoga and I'm starting to incorporate weights. I do a lot of stretches because my neck and my back hurt a lot because of the extra weight on one side of my body. So I focus a lot on different stretches, different yoga poses. And I'm starting to do I don't know, I've kind of created my own little workout plan. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I do sit-ups, push-ups, squats, and then I've incorporated weights. But like I said, I'm really bad at being consistent. So that's something that I am working on this year.
I think that's something a lot of us can relate to. I'm very sedentary usually, especially working remotely. I'm always just sitting right here at my desk. So that's why I joined the bar studio near me, and I walk to my classes there too. So it's like a 20-minute walk each way. So it's nice to kind of get I call it my outdoor enrichment time, like just getting some fresh air.
Okay.
Because it is hard, to make time for those little bits of movement. I can't remember where I heard this before. I think it was probably at a conference, but they talked about movement snacks. So it's like little bits of movement that where you can get them, whether it's taking the steps instead of the elevator if you can, or doing a lap around your house or taking a walk around your block. Like just little bits of movement where you can get it is always, it adds up in a really big way. Edwina says vibration plate. Yeah, there's a lot of people that love their vibration plates. I've not used one myself, but if Catherine were on the panel tonight, she would be jumping on that. She loves her vibration plate. I
I
know
feel
Sandy
like,
in the chat loves hers too. Go ahead, Evie.
sorry.
No, you're
I feel
fine.
like I feel like the vibration plate is like the trending hot item for Limpies. I never like grew up with a vibration plate. It's always been like bandages and compression garments and my pump. I still have yet to invest in one, but I hear a lot of great things about it.
Yeah.
I actually want to get one. It's on my list. I feel like I've been convinced that I need this. I think like
Yeah.
it helps move the lymphatic
Mhm.
fluid, right? Like,
Yeah. I want to get one like for underneath my work desk so I can have like my
um,
lymphatic system up and running while I'm working at my desk, you know?
Such a
yeah.
brilliant idea, Evie. And it's the vibration plate is my secret weapon when I do MLD with patients. And oftentimes I will have them seated with their feet on the vibration plate, and it creates almost this wicking motion that helps a lot. And you can do your own MLD on a vibration plate by sitting on the floor on the plate. And that really that extra movement, what it does is it means that your muscles have to do more work to stabilize yourself against the vibration. And so more muscle movement equates into more movement and more lymph flow. So it's great.
That's awesome. We've got a few people asking what is a brand that you recommend. I know Catherine usually talks about, I think it's called Life Pro is the brand she uses, I'm pretty sure, but is there any in particular that you recommend or?
I think that if you do a little bit of research out there, and I can do that real quick as we're all together, um, I have used a number of different types. One thing I should mention is that they come in basically two flavors in terms of styles. You can have the plates that are just like a platform, or you can have the plates that have handles on them. So if you're going to be standing a lot, you might want to consider getting the ones with handles because it's just better for balance. And sometimes I will say this is a caveat because we were using vibration also with our rehab patients that had had strokes. And one of our patients had a blood sugar incident because he wasn't used to exercising that much. And so when you start using it, you want to start real easy, like maybe with 10 minutes or even less, and start to build up and get used to it because your body's going to work a lot harder than it thinks it's going to. So I can't give you a specific recommendation, but I will see if I can find something to drop in the chat.
Thanks, Karen. And I'll make sure the links go out in the replay email too. So don't worry about capturing them if you want. But while you're looking for that, Sandy asked a question in the Q&A box, and it is for Karen. She asked, can you clarify the best massage method for lipedema and lymphedema? One is deep and one is very light. What if you have both?
Oh, I love that you asked that question because I would say that deep and light massage can be used for both lymphedema and lipedema. And it depends a lot on how much fibrosis and body mass you have. So I'm just going to give my quickie definition of fibrosis, being the reigning fibrosis queen. Fibrosis is extra tissue. It's when the body forms tissue that is hard and dense, and it can be either a scar-like tissue or it can be fatty tissue. And there's a specific type of fibrosis that everyone, even people with stage 0 lymphedema have, which is called lymphostatic fibrosis. And what that means is that swelling is high in protein, and those protein cells attract fat cells, and it forms this matrix. So that's the incentive to decongest, because if you stay decongested, your body is less likely to build up these layers. It's like coating in a pipe, if you will, of extra tissue. And really the state-of-the-art way to remove it is with surgery. So if you can prevent it to begin with or slow down the process, that's a good thing. So why am I bringing up fibrosis? Well, if you want to move lymph fluid and you have a lot of extra tissue in the way, then you have to use a deeper pressure. And it needs to be pressure that is not painful, but it's necessary because the light pressure isn't going to necessarily reach down to those deeper channels that can help out when the superficial channels near the skin aren't working as well. Also, if you have a scar or if you've had a cellulitis infection and have a plaque of fibrotic tissue from that, or any other of a dozen reasons that you might have fibrosis, because there's a lot of them out there, sometimes you have to reroute the lymph, and it can be routing it horizontally, but it can also be routing it in terms of depth. I did mention body mass. And so for people of size, you're gonna need to use more pressure, because when you have more tissue, you just need that pressure to be able to move the fluid. So bottom line is you want to work with a lymphedema therapist to show you the right amount of pressure, but not all lymphedema therapists know about fibrosis, because it wasn't a thing. When I did my lymphedema training 20 years ago, we really didn't talk about it much, and it was still all about petting the bird. And now we know that a lot of people need more pressure than that. So that's my 2 cents.
I love the petting the bird analogy, because that's how a lot of my CLTs have done that for me too. And then I had recently, Nazreen, who's usually on the panel with us, she's a CLT as well. And she did MLD on me like recently. And she is so deep with it. Like I was like, whoa, I'm going to be feeling this tomorrow. But it felt great because I never had someone really work my tissue that much. And she also flipped me over and worked the back of my legs and stuff too, which my usual CLTs never do that. They just kind of stay on the front while I'm laying on the table, so it was kind of neat. And a lot of CLTs, they have kind of their own styles with stuff. But yeah, I love that info. And Sandy says, great info, Karen. Thanks. And thank you, Sandy, for asking that really wonderful question. I'm going to put Karen back on the spot because she promised us a lovely, empowering closure for the evening, and I want to make sure she's got enough time for it. So, Karen, if you want to melt us into that.
Gosh, are we there already? Wow.
Just about, I know.
Time
Okay.
flies when we're having fun.
I know, it really does.
Well, I'm so happy and excited to be able to share these with everyone. And tonight's topic is about being in that place of vulnerability when there is a disaster, whether you're in the middle of it or whether you're witnessing it. And I'm here to say that we all get touched when there's a disaster. And those of us like Evie who lived through the campfire, those of us like myself that lived through the Loma Prieta earthquake, um, when there is a disaster, it's kind of like I don't know. The analogy I have that best fits it is that when it rains and the mold comes up again, it's like a disaster happens and all the memories and feelings that we have about past disasters come up again. So I think that that's a natural thing, and I think that we need to just be aware and care for ourselves. So enough introduction. I'm going to ask you to just get comfortable, whether you're sitting or lying down, and take a nice breath. And let it out nice and slow. And you can have your eyes open or closed, whatever works best for you. And I want you just to feel yourself carried by the surface that you're sitting or laying down on. Just allow your body to be supported and sink in just a little deeper to that chair, to that sofa, to that bed. And as you take another deep breath, I want to read you a poem. And this was posted in response to the fires in LA. And it just really struck me as something that was a good touchstone. And it's called The Clearing. It's written by Martha Holstowait. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize it and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. And as you take another breath, notice the surroundings. See if you can feel a sense of safety in where you are. And if you know of someone that has been through a recent disaster, or if you have been through a recent disaster, take another breath and let that breath surround you, surround the ones you care about, and make it a breath of safety. In this moment, I am safe. In this moment, I can rest. I can be still. And especially the mind that tends to want to figure it out and solve and rescue. Take another breath and let the breath lead you to any solutions that you might need. Send your breath to those that you love who need solutions. And with the last few breaths that we do with this exercise, just breathe in safety and breathe out love. Breathe in safety and breathe out love. So as we start to transition back to the end of this hour, just allow your eyes to softly focus and again be aware of the surroundings. Be aware of everyone who is here together, joined in this wonderful community. Feel the caring and the solidarity. And the gratitude that we have each other.
Thank you so much, Karen. You can't spell caring without Karen, kind of. So I love that. And as you were speaking, it reminded me of the saying that you can't pour from an empty cup. And I think whether we're living through a natural disaster or just a personal disaster in our own lives or something at work or whatever it may be, it's so important to remember to take care of ourselves, and especially living with a condition like lymphedema, we have to really make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, and incorporating self-care and lymphedema care can be a really nice way to do that, making those moments of diaphragmatic breathing, which helps move that lymphatic fluid, or maybe doing a guided meditation or something like that while you're using your compression pump or performing MLD on yourself, making those really loving actions towards yourself and your lymphedema can be really important. Francis says, "This was fabulous. So happy I found this meeting." And Susan said that she'd love to have the words to this meditation. I'd love to use it for other groups. Karen, I'd love if you could share the poem with me and I can send it out in the replay email.
Yeah, I was
Well,
going to say the same thing. I love that poem. That was such a great poem.
beautiful and really poignant. And I think a lot of us, especially those of us that are in the advocacy space, or even just, again, day-to-day living with this condition, we get such burnout, sometimes. So it's really nice to be able to revisit that. I love the idea of a clearing in the dense forest of your life. That was beautiful imagery. Oh, Sandy, first time meditating while vibrating. See, if you had a vibration plate, y'all could do that while you're vibrating. Oh my goodness. Well, everybody, it's the end of the hour. Time sure does fly, as Evie said, when you're having fun. We are here, as you know, every second Tuesday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you can't make it live, we still encourage you to register so you can get the replay in your email as soon as I have that edited and posted. And whether it's your first time tuning in or your 31st, we appreciate you spending this hour with us. And we hope you have a beautiful rest of your night, and take care of yourselves. And we'll see you on February 11th, everybody. And thank you, Hardeep and Evie, for joining us. You guys can come back anytime to the panel. We love having you. And Karen, as always, being here too. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone.